So, what takes a top priority in your financial budget? Is it a Starbucks? Is it a vacation? And why is budgeting so hard? Let's find out.
Building spirituality, family, health, and business. This is The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.
Hey, Giant Builders, welcome. I hope it's warm in your area. It is definitely warm here in North Carolina. So, enjoying the summer and getting my fingernails dirty in the dirt. So, today's guest is Nancy Ward. Hey, Nancy, how are you?
Doing well. Yourself?
Doing great. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure thing. My name is Nancy Ward, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a financial coach, and I primarily work with those who are trying to fix up their finances and get out of credit card debt. Because unfortunately, there's so many people who are living paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of that is because of the credit cards. We've had higher expenses, and people are putting more on their credit cards. I've also done a little bit of a pivot just recently working with solopreneurs because as I was working with my clients, they were asking me questions about how to enhance their business or how to make more money in their business so they can pay off those credit card debts. And it is amazing how I've realized that there's so many solopreneurs out there that are using their personal credit cards to fund their business. And that's okay in the beginning. As you're building your business, you're obviously going to make some changes on that, but while you're in the muck at that moment, you're going to put it on the personal credit card. So I help with those people who are a little bit stuck with untangling all of that in all of those finances within their personal credit card for their business expenses.
And isn't it the credit card the American way?
But the funny thing about that is that you can't pay your mortgage with a credit card. And
Yeah,
if you do, you've got a lot more financial problems than you think.
yeah, yeah. Well, and those credit cards they get you with like like the airline miles and the this bonus and this bonus. I mean, we when we had our photography studio, but then because people were bouncing checks, the labs and people required you to put it on a credit card.
Right.
But, we could get tickets for the whole family to Hawaii on our points, and that was really majorly cool because
Oh,
we had to
yeah.
pay the bill anyway. So,
Exactly. And one little tip about that, though, is it sounds like you're the kind of person that paid off your statement at every single month.
yeah,
But those people who don't are paying interest to get that free vacation.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's
it's
that's
only adding up and adding up and adding up. And that free vacation doesn't seem too free anymore.
yeah. That's where you have to draw the line.
Yeah.
So, how did you get into this line of work?
Well, I've been there and done that. Before I was married, I was in $40,000 of personal credit card debt plus a car payment. And you're like, wow, Nancy, how did you know that? Well, I always knew that. I didn't have to add it up. It was always in the back of my mind because I just saw my debt continuously going up and going up. And when I got married, we went ahead and got rid of all the debt over the course of the few years. I stayed at home and raised the kids, and then we got a divorce. So I said, well, I know this is going to happen again. I'm not making the money that I was making before. I don't have two incomes. I want to make sure that I don't get into this situation again. And I started to pay my bills on a weekly basis instead of a monthly basis because I had so many different ways of having my income come in. I had a direct sales business. I did not start my financial coaching business at that point in time, but I also had a W-2 job and I had child support. So I'm getting money at all different times of the month. So it was no big deal. But all I did was start spending $25 a week and sending it automatically to my credit card or to a purchase that I had made, such as at Lowe's, where it was 24 months, same as cash. And the little trick about that one is that after that 24 months, if you didn't pay it all off, you're paying thousands of dollars in deferred interest. So I thought, well, $25 a month is nothing, right? That's easy to do. And 25 times 4 is 100, which is usually more than your minimum payment. So I was ahead of my minimum payment and I was paying it easily and it was $25. It didn't notice. I didn't notice any change in my bank account just for that $25. And I called it the weekly debt plan. So as I'm talking to friends and so forth, they're like, "Well, you should teach this. You should be a financial coach and help others." I said, "Well, yeah, I could do that. I like numbers. I always have. I love supporting people, and conversations come easily to me." And like I said, I was talking to my clients. They're like, "Well, what do I do about this?" I'm like, "Well, this is what I did in my direct sales business." And I thought, well, this is a perfect fit. So I decided to give it a try and did started that about 2021. And by 2023, I was done with corporate. I left and said, this is my release. This is my butterfly moment, and I'm going to go full time. And I have been enjoying it ever since. And that's why I said I really love supporting people because money is such a taboo subject that nobody really wants to talk about it. But when they talk to me about it, they're like, "Yeah, you're like my money BFF. I can never talk to even my sister about this. You're a perfect stranger and you completely understand. You're not telling me to stop drinking my Starbucks." And it's such an easy conversation. People just are actually getting excited to work with their money again.
Yeah, don't tell me not to drink my Starbucks. I mean, what the
No, 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 no. I mean, if that's your non-negotiable, that's great because my non-negotiable is the lawn guys. In 15 minutes, they're here and gone. They've cut my lawn, they weed whacked. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to store anything. I don't have to
hell?
maintain a lawnmower. Oh my gosh. That's like I said, a non-negotiable. So,
Well, it seems like a really easy way to like, I guess you can use the word budget your process, but people have a really hard time with budgeting things. Why do you think we have such
well,
a hard time with that?
budgeting is just like dieting,
Oh, I
right?
hate dieting.
Right, right. It's just like counting calories. We do not want to count every single penny of what we spend. And that's the interesting thing because, my son has food allergies. I can't go and just buy any normal thing. I've got to look at the ingredients. Can I buy this? He can't drink milk, so we've been buying milk alternative for almost 20 years. So, I started the trend. No, I'm kidding. Um,
You might have.
right, but
I usually get milk out of those almonds anyway.
out of, out of rice. That's where it started was
Yeah.
rice. Well, he can't have almonds, so it's either
Oh,
rice
okay.
and now it's oat milk. But you're right. But I was spending $3.75 for a half a gallon. A gallon of milk these days is around $2 to $3, depending on what time of the month you go to the grocery store. But it can range for a whole gallon. But I'm talking 3.75 for a half gallon.
Hmm.
So somebody like me, you can't tell me, oh, you can only have $100. And I think that's another thing about budgeting is people don't like that restriction. So when I work with my clients and we look at all the numbers, I say, let's look at the categories because the categories are going to open up the conversation to what are you spending in those categories? Where are you, Lois, going to make those changes in your personal purchases? Oh, you know what? I've been spending a lot of money doing this. Oh, I've been getting a lot of car washes. I mean, I'm just making something up here.
Yeah.
But you look at your automobile category and you're thinking, wow, I've been doing this every single week. I've been paying $10 to go get my car washed, but I'm a real estate agent. I have to have a nice looking car. Well, then fine. I understand that by the way almost could be a business expense.
Hmm.
But can you go to a car wash that has a monthly charge for $15 for the month? So it's those small little changes that you can make where you don't give up your Starbucks, you don't give up your car wash, but you find an more economical way to afford it, to pay for it, and still have the same results.
Well, that's a
So
good clue.
yeah, so you don't have your budgeting.
Okay. And I don't have to diet. Oh.
Exactly. Because okay, so let's go back to that for a second. You're going to parties, you're going to events, it's the summertime, you're enjoying everything, and you're watching everything that you're eating. And then you go to a party and you're like, "Oh my God, I haven't had that dip in such a long time."
Yeah.
And you're eating And then what do we do to ourselves? And, no offense, but especially women, we're like, oh, I'm done with my diet. It's over. I'm not doing it anymore. And we give up. It's an all or nothing situation. But it just like anything in moderation, enjoy that meal and say, you know what, for the next week, it's carrots and celery for me and 3 walks a day. But, don't let that one event destroy your momentum.
Mhm.
So.
That's good. Okay. So when you start working with a client at first, what are some of the things that you look at that, I don't know, might surprise them?
Well, and as I was mentioning about looking at the categories, I had one client who said, "Oh my gosh, Nancy, I'm a single person and I did not realize how much money I was spending in this category."
Mm.
I was like, "Yeah." And the one thing about making changes, if you don't have the information and you don't have the data, and in my case, the numbers, you can't make decisions if you don't know. So if you're going to take a trip across the country, you're going to have an idea of how much is this going to cost me. I can go so many miles per gallon and average price is this much for, I mean, nobody does that. Nobody
Yeah.
is sitting there calculating how much money I'm going to spend in gas. But that's basically what you're doing with your finances is to look at it and say, okay, if on a given month, which by the way, you can do this with any of your credit card or bank statements, most banks, I should say, where you can go in and look at your charges for the month and even download it as an Excel file. It will tell you the categories and sometimes even give you a beautiful little pie chart of how much you spent and
Oh,
where.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If you go into your activity and then at the activities pages, there's going to be some things that say, do an analysis. Because don't you get that email every January that says, "Here's your last year's recap," and you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that's great. Yeah, delete." And you don't want to think about it, but
Yeah.
that's going to show you those pie charts. And what's nice about that is if you do it on a monthly basis, or if you go back today and say, "Okay, this is fresh start. I'm going to do it." Say, how much did I spend in December? Oh gosh, you have another holidays. I don't even want to think about it.
December doesn't count.
It doesn't count to a point, but yeah, I get you. And then you go back to November, and then you go back to October, and you go back to September, and even looking at those 3 or 4 months, you say, oh, on average, I'm spending $150 on gasoline. But why is it that you look at that and go, oh my gosh, why was this so expensive? Oh, yeah, it's the summertime. We're going traveling. We're going on staycations. So instead of flying, we're driving. That's why my gasoline was so expensive in July this last year. So having those indicators that are going to give you some trending analysis. I know I'm like really geeking out on numbers, but
But I understand what you're talking about. So this is all good. Yeah.
right, but
Yeah.
my point is that it's just categories. We're not even going into the expenses. I have another thing that you can do if you really want to go down that rabbit hole.
Okay.
But in the me
No,
in
let's
the Yeah, I
go.
know. In the meantime, you can look at it and say, okay, every month on average, because what's the first thing that people say when they want a budget? How much am I spending on gasoline? How much am I spending on electricity and my cell phone bill and all of that other stuff? Have the credit card or the bank statements, that information, do the work for you, and they tell you how much you spent in each category. Then you can dive deeper and say, why did I spend so much? Oh, yeah, because I bought another warranty for my refrigerator because I'll be darned if I'm going to go buy another refrigerator. I'll pay the $900 and have that warranty. That's why my household budget or household expenses were so expensive that month in January because I bought a warranty program. Otherwise, it's hardly anything that I spend every single month. So I could go on and on and on, but I know that we wanted to hit up on some great highlights for your listeners.
Yeah, I mean that's true because we pay our insurance with our credit card because that's how they guarantee they get their money.
Right. And then of course you're using a great points card, so
Yeah.
you're getting the extra benefit.
So once we know these numbers, how
Yes.
can we make better financial decisions?
Well, like I said, if you're looking at it and realizing, wow, I'm spending a lot in this category,
Hmm.
such as your groceries or If in the back of your head you're thinking, yeah, I know we've been dining out a lot, but honestly, these days it's so expensive to just going to fast food is way overpriced
I
from
know. Isn't that amazing what you spend just at a hamburger place?
right. It's like, wait a minute, I could get that same meal at a sit-down restaurant
Exactly.
with, okay, maybe I would have to pay tip on top of that. But it's like, how is it, you go to the Mexican restaurants, they load you up with chips and salsa, and it's
Hmm.
the same price as going through the drive-through. I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't. Um, but it's also just looking, like I said, looking at your trends and saying, I know in the back of my head I'm spending too much money on this. And when you see it on paper or on the screen in numbers in real time versus, oh yeah, it's something. It's all in my head. I'm not looking at it. When you see it in black and white, it's amazing how your mindset shifts a little bit.
Hmm.
Say, if I am trying to save up for my vacation, for college, for putting more into my investing, to pay for the water heater that just broke, whatever the case may be, you're the one who has to go and look at how you're spending and how you make those changes. Because otherwise, you're just flying blind or keeping your head in the sand. And so, having those numbers in front of you will say, okay, maybe we should go dine out one time less a week. So years ago when I started, I was giving out some tips, and it's like you still want to go and do that fast food. All
Hmm.
right, well, before you go get that fast food, grab your Coke out of your refrigerator that you paid
Um,
X amount of cents for. You didn't pay 250 for it.
yeah.
Grab that Coke out and then go through the drive-through, grab your meal without a drink. You've got your Coke, and you've just saved yourself $1 or two. Same as the restaurants. Drink water while you're there because you're spending nowadays it's like $3 just for a beverage. Yes, you get refills, but still $3 times
How
four.
much can you drink during a dinner?
But that's not just the thing, is that you got four people, that's $12. You're paying
Yeah.
tip and tax on $12 of soda.
Hmm.
So those are the small shifts that you can make, and you can afford that Starbucks. No I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Right there, you saved yourself $15 just on four drinks.
Yeah.
Um, and you're like, yeah, because that's what mama needs. What is it? The happy wife, the happy life. So
Yeah. Right.
let mama have her Starbucks. Um, but you have to start playing this game
Hmm.
of figuring out what is not needed, what can you change to, and how can we take those changes and put it to something different. So now all of a sudden you have this extra bill. Maybe you have a new driver in the house. Anywhere from 75 to $100 or more a month. And you're like, holy cow, I was not expecting this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what happens with young drivers and especially boys. So
Yeah.
just say
Yeah.
it. You gotta wait till they're 25 and then you can kick them off your plan. Sorry, that's from my past life of being in the insurance customer service. So just
Yeah.
those few tips to
Yeah.
everybody. But like I'm saying is that if you have something like that coming up, whether it's a new driver, whether it's a new purchase, you know that water heater is going to go eventually. If you start saving that money, that when the bill comes, you're not as stressed to pay that bill because you've got that money. But
Mhm.
it's also a little bit of sacrifice on your end. So like I said, take that Coke that you already buy at the grocery store with the fuel points and all the other perks that go with it. Grab those Cokes before you go to the fast food, and you've saved yourself a little bit of money, which, like I said, in the long run, is going to add up as long as we're not making a lot of silly choices. And again, if that's what your goal is to save that money for X item, it's all about you making that change. So let's go back to that dieting. If you want to lose that weight, if you're like, okay, my pants aren't fitting right, what you have to do, the simple thing is you don't have to go diet, just go walk outside. Change what you eat. Eat more protein, more there's simple solutions besides I got to count every single calorie in order to lose weight.
Hmm.
So, like I said, it's just a little different alternative, but that's the benefit of having a coach is that we're looking at those numbers, we're looking at that consistency. You've got somebody who you're accountable to besides yourself because a lot of people still have their head in the sands, but they know they have somebody that they have to report to on a weekly or bi-weekly, monthly basis. They're going to look at their numbers and I'm going to make it a little easier for you because I want money to be fun. Money should not be stressful.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And I would also, so my learning experience would be that make sure that you're looking at your credit card statements every month because it's like my Facebook got hacked one time
Ooh,
and I couldn't get my account back. It took like 4 months for me to get my account back.
wow.
And in turn, whoever hacked my account was also running Facebook things. And I told Facebook that I had not, I wasn't running ads because I didn't have my account and everything, but they weren't responding because they're a big company and they don't care what we are doing. And so, but just keep track of those things. I mean, my credit card eventually did refund and get everything back, but watch for little things in there. Make sure you can account for everything that's on your statement.
Yeah, and that's just really funny that a little while ago my son was working on his homework late at night, whatever, and I don't know. I like to know what's going on in my credit card because when my kids turned 14, which they're older than that now, I gave them a credit card. I made them an authorized user on my card. So in
Mm,
case they were out somewhere, they needed to buy food, they didn't have money, and then as they, got it started driving, they used it to put the
yeah,
gas on the credit card and so forth.
yeah.
That even to this day, my daughter has moved out, and sometimes she has issues with her credit card. She just uses mine because she knows it'll go through, and then she just PayPal's me the money, and we move on with life, right? No big deal. But he was sitting there doing his homework, and it was late at night, and I got this text message that said a purchase had been made. So I knocked on his door. I'm like, "Hey, did you buy this for school, for work, or for your homework assignment?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll go unsubscribe from it right now." Otherwise, if he didn't do it probably immediately, they would have
Mhm.
said, "Well, you really wanted that subscription, and we're still going to keep you charging you that 8.99 for that month."
Yeah.
So you're right. It's I'm a little obsessive just because I like to know what's being charged. And sometimes that
Mhm.
happens is that all of a sudden a company decides to charge something on your credit card on file. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I want to know that.
Yeah.
But you're so right is if you don't have those alerts, at least look at your statements and make sure that everything is accurate. You haven't been, your credit card hasn't been hacked. Your
Mhm.
Facebook account, I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine. It's like, hey, guys, like I'm not even in my Facebook
Yeah.
account and all these charges. So, and that is one of the benefits of credit cards is that something like that does come up. You can dispute it so much easier and
Mhm.
faster than a debit card.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
that could be a
Yeah.
whole nother podcast for another day about debit card
Oh,
versus credit card. But with the credit card, you can easily, as soon as the transaction gets off pending, you can dispute that and you can wipe it from your card. And then it's between the Visa, MasterCard, whatever, and that merchant in order to get it resolved.
yeah. Oh.
And you get your credit back, you don't lose it. But with debits, it's banking, it's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the book that you participated in the writing of.
Yes, it is called Living a Wealthy Life. And I talked about how money wasn't everything and being with my children and spending time with them. And this book was written, I want to say like the copyright 2017. Wow. And that was right fresh after my divorce in which I wanted to have a good life for my kids. And 10 something years later, things are good. And I have basically I wrote about I would rather have a relationship with my children than
Mm,
worry about the money.
yeah.
And there was a point where I was at one of my jobs and I was working full time. It's like, oh man, I really want to take the kids on vacation, but I feel like I can never do it. And I really don't want to put it more on the credit card. And then I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? If I don't do it now, I can't do it later.
Mm,
And I said, okay, kids, where are we going to go? We made a decision on a trip and we went on a trip and we had a wonderful time. And it's those memories that those kids
yeah,
had because you can't get back time, but you can always make more money.
yeah. The memories are definitely
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Any closing thoughts?
small steps because, go back to that elephant. An elephant is one bite at a time. And just like, like with dieting, you can't lose 20 pounds in a week. With credit card debt, you can't lose $2,000 in a day unless, you got your tax refund or you got a bonus at work or something. But normal people don't just, reduce their credit card debt by $2,000 or $3,000 in a week.
Yeah,
So it does take time. It does take a little bit of energy, but making it simple is really what it comes down to.
great. All right, well, I'll have all of Nancy's information, contact information below, so please reach out to her and let's make this year your financial free year.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you, Nancy. I really appreciate it. All right, Giant Builders, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you for listening. This has been The Giant Builders with Lois Wyant.